Trudeau. Today, we are witnessing the signing of a declaration by the European Union and Canada concerning the establishment of an ocean partnership. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes témoins de la signature d'une déclaration du Canada et de l'Union européenne concernant la création d'un partenariat sur les océans. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Merci. This concludes the official signing ceremony.
Bonjour à tous. Merci d'être des nôtres ici aujourd'hui à Montréal. Nous sommes sur le point de conclure un sommet très productif avec nos partenaires européens, durant lequel nous avons eu la chance de faire le point sur un bon nombre d'enjeux. Que l'on parle de climat, de droits de la personne, de démocratie ou de commerce, le Canada peut compter non seulement sur l'appui, mais aussi sur l'engagement de l'Union européenne. Notre travail conjoint à plusieurs chapitres, je crois, témoigne de la force de notre amitié et des liens historiques qui nous unissent. Mais ce qui nous amène ici aujourd'hui, c'est d'abord une vision semblable de l'avenir auquel nous aspirons. Un avenir où chacun a une chance réelle et égale de réussir. Un avenir où les droits de la personne sont respectés, où notre environnement est protégé et où la classe moyenne est forte. We took an important step towards making this bright future a reality with the Strategic Partnership Agreement and Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement. The SPA lays a new foundation to work more closely together on a wide range of issues, whether it be innovation, security, sustainable development, migration, or human rights. And with CETA, we set an example for global trade. We established a framework to create real, meaningful growth that is benefiting people on both sides of the Atlantic. By opening up new markets, businesses are able to grow and create good, well-paying jobs that middle-class Canadians and citizens need. This agreement is helping put food on the table for families while strengthening our communities. But what sets CETA apart from other trade deals is the way in which it reflects the values of its signatories. In addition to lowering trade barriers, it includes provisions that protect workers' rights, safeguard our environment, support public services, and resolve investment disputes through an improved and independent system. This is proof that trade, when done right, can benefit everyone. But it is also clear that we need to continue making the case for trade, both abroad and here in Canada. That's why we are going to keep working on progressive and inclusive approaches that deliver real results for working people. CETA is just one example of what we can achieve when we work together to deliver those real results for working people. Collaboration leads not only to economic growth and better opportunities for people, but it's also instrumental in helping us tackle some of the most pressing challenges facing our countries. One thing we talked about this week is the need to have clear international rules that ensure trade is both free and fair. Like the European Union, Canada is committed to real, lasting solutions to the challenges currently facing the World Trade Organization. Canada and the EU have been working together in a group of WTO members known as the Ottawa Group to help modernize the organization that has played a crucial role in facilitating international trade for nearly 25 years. The growing number of vacancies on the appellate body which helps resolve disputes between members, is especially concerning. A credible, functioning dispute resolution mechanism is critical to our success as a trading nation. If we don't find a solution to the current impasse, the appellate body could stop functioning by December. We continue to support the process being led by the General Council Chair to restore a fully operational appellate body, but in the event that those efforts are unsuccessful, we need to be prepared. So we've been working with the European Union to find an interim fix. After this summit, we're closer to finalizing an agreement, which would help preserve the function of an appeal system within the WTO until we find a more permanent solution. Dans le cadre du sommet, nous avons également convenu d'intensifier notre collaboration dans plusieurs domaines pour bâtir un avenir plus vert, plus égal et plus juste pour les gens de la classe moyenne. D'abord, nous avons conclu le partenariat sur la protection des océans entre le Canada et l'Union européenne, qui nous aidera à mieux protéger les écosystèmes marins et à veiller à la santé de nos océans. C'est absolument primordial, non seulement pour combattre les changements climatiques, mais pour assurer la force de nos communautés côtières où les emplois sont souvent liés à l'océan. Le partenariat s'appuie sur les efforts qu'on avait déployés lors du sommet du G7 l'année dernière pour lutter contre les conséquences du réchauffement planétaire. De plus, le Canada deviendra un membre à part entière de la Commission de Venise pour promouvoir les principes démocratiques qui nous sont chers et défendre les droits de la personne. Plus que jamais, les pays comme les nôtres, qui partagent non seulement des ambitions, mais aussi des valeurs communes, se doivent de contrer les mouvements populistes et nationalistes qui minent la démocratie à travers le monde. Nous devons donc resserrer notre collaboration encore davantage à ce chapitre. In the same vein, we agreed to work even more closely together on election observation missions around the world to strengthen democracy. Canada has long played a role in successfully monitoring elections, and we look forward to doing even more to make sure elections are inclusive, credible, and transparent. Finally, we have pledged to double our research, development, and demonstration investments in clean energy technology. This is part of our commitment to fight climate change and meet our Paris targets and give our kids the experiences we had growing up. If we want them to swim in clean water, explore our parks and enjoy the outdoors, we need to invest in the clean energy transition. Le sommet de cette semaine illustre une chose, que notre partenariat est plus fort que jamais. C'est clair qu'il nous reste des défis majeurs à relever, des défis qui sont très importants pour les Canadiens comme pour les Européens. Mais ensemble, on avance. We know that collaboration with our European friends has been essential. And as the European leadership is going through a transition at this point, I do want to take a moment to thank the friends standing beside me, and indeed all of those who've worked so hard this past European mandate to advance our shared goals, our shared values. Cecilia Malmström has been a strong voice every step of the way for progressive trade, for including in economic approaches the rights of women, the rights of minorities, the progressive voices that are essential not just to make a positive case for trade that people will accept, but to benefit, that the greatest economic benefits happen, to demonstrate that the greatest economic benefits happen when everyone is included, everyone is given opportunities to succeed. And I thank you deeply for your leadership and your friendship, Cecilia. And President Tusk, Donald, you have been an extraordinary friend and ally through your leadership at the European Council, consistently a voice for values, for togetherness, for European unity, and for the responsibility those of us who share and wield the opportunity to serve our citizens continue to have towards the world, the opportunities and responsibilities that the nations that we serve have to make better opportunities for all with everything we do. I tell you, Donald, you will be deeply missed in Europe, but you will be deeply missed around the world as well with your leadership, your thoughtfulness, and mostly the heart you put into everything you do. Thank you, my friend, for all your leadership. Au cours de notre mandat, le Canada a multiplié les ponts, que ce soit sur le plan du commerce, de la sécurité ou de la démocratie, et j'en suis fier. On réalise des progrès considérables pour les gens de la classe moyenne et on se rapproche de cette vision d'un avenir meilleur pour tous. Chaque fois que j'ai la chance de rencontrer nos partenaires européens, je suis inspiré par ce que j'entends et surtout par les efforts que l'on déploie. Je sais que les Canadiens et les Européens continueront d'être à la hauteur des défis qui les attendent, peu importe leur taille. Encore une fois, merci d'être des nôtres, mes amis, et surtout, merci à vous tous de travailler ensemble avec nous pour bâtir un monde meilleur. Merci beaucoup. Donald.
Merci beaucoup. Mr. Prime Minister, dear Justin, dear Cecilia, it is a true pleasure to be in Montreal, the most European of Canadian cities. I really feel at home here, for many reasons. Also because in Montreal, I didn't hear anyone shouting, "Send him back." In the unstable global setting we live in, it is reassuring that the friendship between the EU and Canada is as stable as ever. For the European Union, Canada is a strong ally and a very good friend. Canada shares our vision of the world, our values and our objectives. We are both passionate believers in democracy, rule of law, human rights, solidarity among people and nations, as well as rules-based international order. This is why we will continue our fight for those principles. And to all who wishfully declared that the West was dead and liberal democracy obsolete, we have a clear answer. You are wrong. We will never give up on our values. The same vision of the world means that we are committed to making the world safer in every aspect. To this end, during the EU-Canada summit, we discussed climate crisis, preserving clean oceans, empowering women and managing local conflicts. We also agreed to deepen our bilateral relationship and strengthen economic links. 3 years ago, we agreed on CETA. Justin will remember that the birth of CETA was not easy, especially on our side. At the time, some tried to scare our citizens that CETA was dangerous. But today it is clear that CETA has brought many benefits to people on both sides of the Atlantic. Trade is up, and the calamities predicted by some doomsayers have not materialized. This proves that by acting together, we can overcome challenges and that the winners are the people of Canada and Europe. We will work further to ensure that more businesses and people profit from CETA. To conclude, let me again thank you, Prime Minister, for this very good summit and for standing side by side for things that matter in this world. And also for your focus on people, on Canadians, and especially your model to support the middle class. It's a model for the world. Dear Justin, it is great to have you as a partner and as a friend. In fact, I believe that you are Europe's best friend. Thank you.
Monsieur le Premier ministre, cher Justin, Monsieur le Président Tusk, dear Donald, Mesdames et Messieurs, c'est un grand plaisir d'être ici à Montréal encore une fois. Et je voudrais remercier le Premier ministre pour son accueil et son hospitalité, tant que son équipe. Le monde dans lequel nous vivons aujourd'hui est complexe et difficile. Et pour cela, ça appelle plus que jamais à l'ouverture, à la coopération et au respect d'un ordre mondial fondé sur les règles. Et c'est dans cet esprit que s'inscrit l'accord de partenariat stratégique entre le Canada et l'Union européenne. Parce que quand nous nous unissons nos forces et faisons beaucoup plus mieux que nous le ferions seuls. L'amitié et le partenariat avec le Canada est très fort. Nous partageons les mêmes valeurs. Et notamment cet exemple, par exemple, à la lutte contre le changement climatique, la préservation de notre planète. Je me félicite de la signature aujourd'hui avec mon amie Madame la ministre McKenna sur le partenariat sur les océans, qui témoigne de notre détermination commune de défendre les océans, ce qui est nécessaire. C'est une responsabilité internationale partagée parce que 60% des océans sont situés en dehors des eaux territoriales. And of everything we do together, as Prime Minister and President Tusk said, the comprehensive economic and trade agreement between us is something we can all be proud of. We set gold standards for trade agreements. And when we talk about rules and value-based trade, this is it. This agreement has now been in provisional application for almost 2 years, and there are tangible results. Trade between us has increased, and you are importing from us and we are importing from you. The full effective implementation will bring us even more benefits and create possibilities for Canada and for Europe. And this is good. It's good, economic benefits. But there are plenty of others, because this is a symbol of what progressive trade is about. It promotes all the things that Europeans and Canadians care about. Decency in the workplace, health and safety of our citizens, our cultural diversity, the quality of the land, sea and air that surround us. And it also promotes the effective implementation of the Paris Climate Agreement. Our shared commitment to open economies goes hand in hand with our shared support for the rule-based multilateral trading system, with the World Trade Organization at its core. And I want to thank Canada for its leadership, notably Minister Carr, for your leadership in the Ottawa Group, for working together with us to save and reform the appellate body, but also to strengthen, modernize and reform the WTO. The bilateral agreement between EU and Canada, if the appellate body is not solved, send a strong message of our shared objective to ensure the full effectiveness of the WTO and the stability of world trade. In Canada, the EU has a true partner. We share the same values, the same dedication to the multilateral system, and you are a like-hearted partner, not only a like-minded partner. So thank you again for inviting us here today. Merci.
My question is for President Tusk, and for, if Prime Minister Trudeau, you wouldn't mind also answering in English and en français, s'il vous plaît. President Tusk, this is one of your last acts as the President of the EU. And Mr. Trudeau, you're also heading into an election where you're facing a tide of sentiment that differs from your policy. So I just wanted to know from both of you, how much of today is about putting safeguards in place against possible populist governments that may be following both of you?
Frankly speaking, I feel quite safe in Europe. My successor is a very responsible pro-European, pro-Western politician. New President of the Commission is the best possible example of our way of thinking, and this is why I have no problem with the future of the EU. Of course, we have problems in some member states, no doubt. But our last European Parliament elections showed that we are still able to fight effectively against extremism, political radicalism and populism. I'm not here to comment Canadian context, but this is more for Justin, I think.
I think as we approach this Canadian election, I think we have to reflect on the various forces at play around the world, but not suddenly think that this election will be terribly different from elections in the past. We have seen elections in the past focused on personal attacks before. We have seen elections in the past focused on the politics of division, of fear, of envy, of anger before. And Canadians, when given the opportunity to respond to the better angels of their nature, to respond thoughtfully in ways that allay the fears that we are facing as individuals, as communities, rather than amplify and exacerbate those fears, we've made positive choices that have led to better outcomes for Canadians and better outcomes for the world. And that focus is, again, going to be at play in this upcoming election. But ultimately, when we talk about how we safeguard the values and principles that have served our democracies well, the only ultimate safeguard is citizens themselves, citizens who are informed and thoughtful, ambitious and positive, and understanding that regardless of the challenges we face, we will always be able to overcome them if we lean on each other and work together. And that continues to be my focus, and it's certainly the example we see in this partnership with Europe. But it's something we continue to need to remain vigilant and attentive on. But if every step of the way we expect Canadians and electors in general to be at their best, they will rarely let themselves down. Nous savons que on fait face à une élection où des forces qu'on a déjà vues vont être en jeu, des forces de division, de peur, d'attaque personnelle, de cynisme, de négativité. Ce n'est pas du nouveau qu'on va voir dans nos élections, mais en même temps on sait que les Canadiens sont toujours prêts à faire des choix positifs, à se rassembler pour résoudre les problèmes auxquels on fait face, plutôt que de les voir amplifiés et d'avoir peur. Oui, nous devons continuer d'être vigilants, de démontrer que la piste basée sur la science, sur la raison, sur le partenariat, sur l'entraide, c'est la bonne piste pour le Canada et pour le monde. Mais c'est exactement ce que nous allons faire dans ces élections, parce que quand on regarde comment on veut protéger nos institutions, protéger notre démocratie, protéger nos systèmes, ce n'est pas une question des méthodes ou des balises qu'on met en place, c'est une question d'avoir confiance dans les Canadiens. Et j'aurai toujours confiance dans les Canadiens de faire le bon choix.
And just as a follow-up, President Tusk, you were mentioning that it's happening in some of the member states, and I acknowledge that. So, given that it's clear that these populist movements are taking hold in some of the member states and even in North America, and that's why I'd like Prime Minister Trudeau also weigh in on this, to what extent do you think that's a rejection of what multilateral partnerships have accomplished or stood for since the Cold War?
And I'm not here to provoke a long and a little bit maybe abstractive and theoretical discussion about multilateralism and globalization. I have no doubt that populism is nothing new in Europe and also in America. It's as old as humankind is old. It's for me, it's rather a matter of my self-obligation to fight against the most dangerous and most radical version of this political movement. It's our challenge, it's our task, not a matter of academic discussions. And I think that after the European elections, I can say that Europe showed that we are quite resilient, and because in fact the result is much more optimistic than we expected 1 or 2 years ago. More or less the political situation in Europe is under control.
I think we have to recognize that the pace of change around the world, with technology, with global supply chains, with new innovations, with migrations, has been challenging and a source of anxiety for many citizens. We need to recognize that even though we've seen tremendous growth over the past years in our economies, over the past decades in our economies, that growth has been unevenly shared. And these result in concerns and anxieties that people have around their own futures, around their kids' futures, around their community's future. And politicians and political leaders face a choice that is indeed as old as politics itself. A choice to amplify those fears and reflect back those anxieties to citizens as a way of getting short-term support without actually solving any of the challenges we're facing. Or a choice of rolling up our sleeves, working together, and trying to do the difficult work of overcoming these challenges, of allaying these fears. That is exactly what we are focused on. And there are new technologies that amplify some of the populist tools and voices. But ultimately, I think we've seen time and time again that if we trust citizens to be thoughtful, to be positive, to feel empowered by our institutions, our processes, we will always be able to do better, to solve these challenges, and to succeed. And that certainly is the counter to the kind of insularity and hunkering down in populism that so many people have been trying to peddle on the world stage.
Guillaume Saint-Pierre, Journal de Montréal. Bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau. Depuis l'entrée en vigueur du traité, il y a eu une hausse des échanges commerciaux, mais il semble que ce soit les Européens qui en aient le plus profité jusqu'à présent. Notre déficit commercial s'est creusé de plusieurs milliards. Est-ce que ça vous inquiète qu'il y ait peut-être des effets pervers au traité?
Non, je pense qu'on a vu une augmentation des exportations du Canada envers l'Europe. On est en train de voir les bénéfices d'avoir accès à un marché de presque 500 millions de personnes avec qui on a des liens historiques et culturels actuels. Je pense qu'effectivement, on a encore du travail à faire à permettre aux entreprises canadiennes, surtout aux petites et moyennes entreprises, de profiter pleinement des opportunités que nous avons. Mais on a vu que ça a été une croissance dans les emplois, dans les impacts. Hier après-midi, on a pu aller au port de Montréal voir à quel point les échanges commerciaux ont livré une croissance importante dans le travail et ce que fait le port. Mais nous voyons aussi que, effectivement, les Européens semblent profiter un peu plus ces jours-ci du CETA que le Canada, juste par la croissance économique. Et nous avons du travail pour vraiment communiquer et encourager nos entreprises ici au Canada de bénéficier pleinement des opportunités. C'est malheureux qu'on a encore des partis politiques au Canada qui n'appuient pas ces opportunités réelles pour nos citoyens. Et donc, on va continuer de démontrer que c'est une source de croissance, d'opportunités et d'emplois que d'avoir un accord commercial avec l'Europe.
Puis vous répondre en anglais aussi.
I think one of the things we've seen over the past couple of years of the provisional application of CETA to about 95% of its benefits is that exports in Canada have increased towards Europe, as they have from Europe towards Canada. Perhaps the early numbers show that the Europeans have been quicker to increase their trade towards Canada than Canadian companies have been able to engage with Europe. But we have tremendous confidence that Canadian companies will continue to benefit and increase their opportunities to grow their businesses through selling more to Europe. We were at the Port of Montreal yesterday and seeing the direct impact of CETA on increased trade, increased investments in infrastructure, increased jobs at the port, as there are tremendous benefits to be seen on this. It is unfortunate that there are still political parties in this country that are resistant to trade, indeed resistant even to trade with Europe. I mean, you think about who we can trade with around the world, and looking at Europe as a progressive, aligned in values, ferocious about fighting for the environment, ferocious about defending workers' rights and citizens' rights, as Europe has always been recently. You have to ask the question of people like the NDP in Canada, that if you don't think we should have a free trade deal with Europe as progressive, positive and aligned as they are, then with whom would the NDP want to sign a trade deal? We know that trade creates growth. We know that trade done properly and progressively, as we've done with CETA, creates opportunities and benefits for families and workers. We will continue to be making the case for trade and encouraging and empowering our businesses to draw full advantage of it.
Mais si l'accord est si bénéfique, pourquoi est-ce que ça soulève autant d'opposition ici comme en Europe? Puis aussi, le processus de ratification, ça semble être assez compliqué en France en ce moment. Il y a encore beaucoup de pays européens qui n'ont pas ratifié. Comment vous entrevoyez la suite des choses?
Il y a comme j'ai dit, il y a des partis politiques ici au Canada et en Europe qui continuent à s'opposer à l'accord de libre-échange avec le Canada. Mais ma question pour ces partis canadiens, c'est toujours, si vous ne voulez pas faire un accord commercial avec l'Europe vert, progressiste, aligné sur les valeurs comme ils le sont avec nous, avec qui vous voudriez que le Canada signe des accords commerciaux? Et la même chose en Europe. Si vous ne voulez pas signer un accord commercial avec le Canada, où on est en train de démontrer du leadership en matière d'environnement, du leadership en matière de protection des travailleurs, du leadership en termes d'inclusion de tout le monde dans la réussite de la classe moyenne, avec qui ces Européens voudraient signer un accord commercial? Alors, ces questions demeure, mais je suis très confiant qu'on est en train de démontrer concrètement les bénéfices de cet accord. Par rapport au processus de ratification, comme on a dit, la mise en œuvre provisoire applique à peu près 95% de tous les bénéfices de la SCG, du CETA, aux pays membres. Oui, un processus de ratification qui est en cours. On est très content de voir que la France va de l'avant avec son vote à l'Assemblée nationale en début de semaine prochaine, parce que c'est un très bon signe pour les Européens. Et on est confiant que ces étapes vont être franchies de la bonne façon. Mais pendant qu'on attend la ratification de tous les différents pays, de bénéficier à 95% de tous les avantages du CETA, ça va faire un impact réel pour nos communautés, pour nos familles, pour nos travailleurs.
En anglais, sur la ratification?
I think one of the things we recognize is that there is a ratification process that is underway in Europe where each member country has to proceed through its own ratification. But in the meantime, and for the past 2 years and going forward, about 95% of all the advantages of CETA are already in place. So businesses and communities are benefiting significantly from access to greater markets this way, and we're going to continue to benefit while different countries move forward. We're very pleased that France will be moving forward with a vote in its National Assembly early next week. We see that the ratification process is going well, but in the meanwhile, there is no reason to not take full advantage of the provisional implementation that has almost all the full benefits of the full CETA.
President Tusk, you referenced earlier the controversy in the United States that we're seeing this week in the remarks of the President, the rhetoric. How would you label that, and what is the impact on Europe's ability to do business with a country who has a President that says these things?
Well, I'm here as a President of the European Union, the Council, and to discuss with our Canadian friends. I don't want to comment your neighbor's internal politics today. But I think that for all of us, I've been for many years one of the most pro-American politicians in Europe. It's difficult to understand some facts, some words. And sometimes if you feel that something is totally unacceptable, you have to react. Despite business, despite interest, for me, values are much more important than trade. Sorry, it's maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I will never change my opinion here.
Is there anything you would like to elaborate on there, but also specifically your work to save the WTO appellate body? That's very important. You've talked about this. Do you think that the United States is sincere about working with you, to engage with you, to fix it, or do you think we're simply going to see the end of it in December?
No, frankly speaking, for me, and I'm absolutely sure that not only for me, everything is clear here. I don't want to provoke any deeper discussions on this today.
Do you think that, Prime Minister?
I think the comments made were hurtful, wrong, and completely unacceptable. And I want everyone in Canada to know that those comments are completely unacceptable and should not be allowed or encouraged in Canada. Les propos de hier soir sont blessants et inacceptables. Et je ne veux pas que personne au Canada pense que ces propos sont acceptables parce qu'ils ne le sont pas.
Bénédicte Lebel, TVA Nouvelle en français et en anglais, s'il vous plaît. Pour M. Trudeau, est-ce que vous vous sentez concerné par présentement les tensions territoriales à Oka? Qu'est-ce que vous pensez faire concrètement?
Nous savons que la réconciliation avec les peuples autochtones est extrêmement importante pour notre pays, mais pour les citoyens de notre pays. Nous reconnaissons qu'il y a des conversations difficiles à avoir, une historique chargée à Oka, mais en même temps, je pense que ça doit se faire dans le respect, dans le dialogue, dans la collaboration. C'est la seule façon d'avancer vers la vraie réconciliation et j'espère que tous les différents partis, incluant le gouvernement fédéral, vont s'engager de façon positive et respectueuse dans un processus important. Reconciliation is extraordinarily important for Canada and for Canadians. And that means overcoming difficult challenges, some loaded with historical significance. We know that the only way forward is through respectful partnership and dialogue, and we certainly hope that all parties in Oka will engage in that respectful and constructive dialogue to allow us to move forward for the benefit of all.
Et comment qualifiez-vous les propos du maire d'Oka qui dit craindre d'être enclavé dans les territoires autochtones?
Comme j'ai dit, je pense que c'est important que ces conversations et ces propos restent respectueux. Je pense que ça n'a pas été respectueux, mais je veux voir les gens qui se rassemblent à la place et un vrai dialogue sur la façon d'avancer. Obviously, I think that the approach lacked the necessary respect and understanding that is key to true reconciliation. And I certainly hope that going forward there is going to be a constructive, collaborative dialogue on how to resolve this situation. Merci tout le monde.
Thank you.